forward for Osgood. And he's got it through, and he has! Yes, Peter Osgood! As Marsh and Best congratulate each other. And Brooking, he first time! What a monumental save by Peter Shilton. Eddie Gray. Oh, good footwork by Gray, still going. Oh, what a lovely goal! It might come for Lineker. And that ace goal poacher pounces again.
Welcome to Soccer in the 70s. Weave another half hour of action and memories from the decade which shaped the way football's played today.
An indirect free kick, although the arm of the referee is still not up. It was up earlier. Yes, Charlton, and there it goes! Bobby Charlton! Wham bang! And Bobby Charlton sticks in another goal to add to his record number of goals for Manchester United.
So we're the underdogs, really.
Played again for Rodgers. Marsh is covering it. But now if Rodgers can attack him, he might have a chance. He's got past Marsh, and now he's confronted by another. Rodgers again, and a goal! Not Rodgers! His confidence has come storming back.
Our guests this week are John Bond, Frank Worthington and Gerry Francis. John, you signed a 10-year contract with Bournemouth in '72. Obviously happy there.
Well, I enjoyed it down there, I enjoyed what was happening. I started off in 1970 where they just got relegated and they was getting 3,500 people, and we finished up in a year's time, or a year after that, averaging 12,000 people. We was getting 18 and 20,000 gates for certain games. We played at Aston Villa in a third division game, and there was 48,000 people there. And you looked at it and you thought, well, what else, what more do you want than this? It was a lovely place to live. The chairman was a good chairman. He was nice to work for. He used to give me plenty of money. I used to have plenty. When I first went to the football club, he said, you'll have £20,000 to spend. And by about 6 months, I'd spent 400,000. But we'd got a useful little side together.
Redknapp with a chance to cross it, flicked on by Mitchinson. Dougal in there! And McDougall almost got it, and he did! Ted McDougall!
Is there more pressure on managers now than there was then?
I would think so. I would think that overall that the people who run the game are looking for more. I was just saying a little while ago, I think you become very familiar very quickly now. You know, you go to a football club and you're there 2 or 3 weeks and all of a sudden your face is very familiar, and they're nice to you for those first 2 or 3 weeks. You can get anything, you can go in and ask for anything, and then after that you're on the way out, whether it be 6 months or 6 years or 16 years, you're on your way out. That is for certain. There's nothing more certain in the world than that.
Frank and Gerry, you were both players then, but now you're both managers. How do you think it compares?
I think there's greater pressure these days on managers, not so much at my level. I'm sure there is at Gerry's and John's at the league level. I played and managed Tranmere Rovers for a couple of years, and whereas I didn't really get too much backing from my chairman. I think that's important too. If you've got the backing of your chairman, it just helps your situation quite a bit. I think there's more pressure these days because money's become the dominating force throughout the game, and you know, and so there's that much more pressure put on managers to get results.
I think there's funnier people come in the game. If you know what I mean by that, I think there's some strange old people come into the game as chairman and directors now. I think that, like, I remember all the years I played 17 years at West Ham, and the directors were there year in and year out, and they seemed very stable sort of people and good, reliable sort of gentlemen, like, you know, and they didn't appear to interfere with the game too much. I do believe, Gary, that there's a lot of people coming in the game and they're really looking for success overnight. They think they're football experts in their own right. They have an awful lot to say, and I think that's very dangerous.
Do you think you have to play it at a decent level?
I think it helps if you can play at a decent level, because I think you have more stature then, don't you, when you really go into it. I think I heard you say that about that the other day.
Yeah, I
about
believe that.
Yeah. But
there
I
are
think,
exceptions.
but after saying all of that, it's no good having that sort of stature if you don't know anything about the game. And there are certain players who played at the top level for a long while and didn't know how they played there, and didn't know, you know, what they did to make them or allowed them to play at that level. But I think, man, I used to think that you could go out and just do coaching when I first went in. I don't know what Jerry thinks about that, but I used to think you'd just go in and coach them 5 days a week and send them out onto the pitch and they'd be all right. But man management comes into it a lot, doesn't it? I mean, have a look at you now at Tottenham. You have a look at yourself, and then you look at Gascoigne and people like that. I mean, it's different people entirely to handle, aren't they? You know, and it's well, yeah, and it's a lot. You know, that all has to be sorted out and knitted into a football team, doesn't it? It's difficult.
I mean, years ago, John, I mean, you'd never heard of agents or etc.
No.
If they wasn't outside the 20 or so players that were in the international setup, I mean, they weren't even interested in most first division teams and certain players. I mean, now they're coming and talking to your fourth division players and my third division players who are now second division players. And, you know, you get many of these people that come along and basically want the boy just to get a move so they can earn some money, and it makes it very, very difficult all round, both for players, I think, as well as managers. And many people, I feel, it's very difficult to be a manager. I mean, I don't particularly like going in at the end of the season and telling my YTSs, who I've known for 2 years, got attached to some lovely kids, that perhaps are not good enough, Gary.
Let's talk about another manager who was successful that season, Bob Stokoe. The year that Sunderland won the Cup.
Stokoe can't believe it, but Sunderland from the second division. Where's he going, Bob Stokoe? To Jimmy Montgomery, the goalkeeper who's punching and saving, saved the day for Sunderland. And I've never seen that before. It's always the captain that they parade around, but today it's the manager, Bob Stokoe.
Do you know Bob Stokoe?
I don't know.
Yeah. Funny fella. Oh, a funny fella. Hey, funny fella. From 3 o'clock until 20 to 5, a completely different man. He was as aggressive and as nasty as anything you want to see. After that, as meek and mild and as gentle a man after that.
There's not a few like that, though, isn't there?
Well, yeah, but you didn't know any. He would do anything. Honestly, if you really knew him, anything to you between 3 o'clock and 20 to 5, nasty and horrible. But after that, it really got to him, didn't it?
Did it ever get to you?
It did early on. You know, funny enough, when I used to get sitting down in that dugout and shouting my silly head off to everybody, and then go in after the match and have an almighty headache and think, what the hell have I been shouting now for 90 minutes, and what have I... And I decided from there and then I wasn't going to do it, and I just sat up in the director's box, and I just sit there. If we score, I just sit there. If they score, I can just relax, and I'm much better for it. I don't like losing, but I mean...
I think if you're on the field as well, I think Frank will back me up. You don't very often hear what's shouted from the dugout. It might as well come from the crowd. The amount of notice that's been taken.
Well, if you do, if it's bad, you just, you know, pretend you haven't heard.
That's true.
Well, that's what I used to do.
Good season for you, Jerry. Promotion to Division 1 with QPR.
That's right, yes, Gary. That was a good season, actually. We went up with Burnley, actually, and we had a tremendous season there. And the two teams, actually, Burnley and ourselves, I think were promoted with about 5 or 6 games to go because we were so many points clear.
The long one forward this time for Leach. Got Gibbons in the middle, and Gibbons now will hit this one! Oh, a fine goal for Queen's Park Rangers! Gibbons against Irwin, and that's 2-0. And Busby, a long one forward. Venables beautifully on now for Bowles. Oh, a tremendous goal! A fantastic goal by Queen's Park Rangers. The whole length of the field that had the hallmark of teamwork about it from deep in their own half until Bowles finally got hold of it and hammered it left-footed past Billy Irwin. What a tremendous goal to put Queen Park Rangers 3-0 ahead.
That season, Frank, you left Huddersfield.
72, 73, yeah. I should have gone to Liverpool, Gary.
Mm.
I was Liverpool. I actually signed for Liverpool. The great Bill Shankly signed me there, but unfortunately for me, the deal fell through due to my blood pressure.
Blood pressure?
So yes, I had a blood pressure condition at the time, and I was sent to hospital by Huddersfield for 5 days of tests to find out what could be the cause of it, and they couldn't find anything out at all. It was just a state of mind at that particular time, which unfortunately ruled out my record signing for Liverpool. You know.
Is that something you regret? You look back on with sadness?
Well, it's not really something you can regret. It's obviously it would have been a big turning point in my life, that's for sure, because to have gone in and stepped into that great Liverpool team would have, you know, it certainly would have made my career, and I'm sure of that. But instead I went to Leicester City, and a less fashionable club or less successful club, but certainly enjoyed it there. But I've had to do it the hard way throughout my career.
It goes for Wellington, who cracks it into the back of the net.
Did you think you got enough out of your career? Did you get enough out of your ability you had, do you think?
Yes, I think so, but obviously in a limited situation, John, because I've had to do it with the teams that weren't winning.
You think
games
you could have, if you'd have gone to Liverpool, do you think you could have done it?
Well, without any shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Without.
Well, I was just, I only asked you that question because I've looked at you over the years, and I just wondered if you felt that you should have been better. I don't think, like, if you look, without being patronising, but I think if you look at Gary, you can look back and think, well, you achieved what you wanted to achieve, really, couldn't you?
Yeah, personally, I watched Frank a great deal, and I think Frank plays the way Frank plays.
Yeah.
As I said, he's as I've always said, he's one of my great heroes, and that's the way Frank played. He plays the game in a relaxed way. That's why his touch was so good, and that's him.
Yeah.
And I think if he'd have played in the top quality sides, they'd have appreciated it there, and it would have enhanced his career. And he always did well with England.
Yeah, right.
Unfortunately, didn't get the chance under Don Revie.
It may even, John, have helped him at international level playing for Liverpool.
Yeah,
definitely. He probably might have been winning things at Liverpool, and it may well have been the difference there as well.
Because Shankly, in fact, he signed me to play alongside Keegan. You know, Toshack was playing up front with Keegan at that time, but I don't think Shankly fancied him that much. That's why he tried to buy me.
The point I was only trying to make with him is I think he's done remarkably well, but I just like he's gone out now he's gone out of the game and playing non-league or managing non-league, and you think that people maybe ought to have spoke about him a lot more than what they did. They ought to have spoke about him like they do Bobby Charlton and people like that, maybe, you know. So I used to love watching you play, and I used to think you had an awful lot of ability and skill and could do things. But you used to fiddle about with it sometimes, did you?
Can I ask you about a player, John? As a striker myself, always interested me. I saw some of his performances on the television. The goal scorer Ted McDougall.
You see, that people will really ridicule me, and you'll probably ridicule me now, and I'll take him in preference to almost anybody. He was magnificent. He was magnificent.
To Grapes, nice play. Up goes McDougall. Machin looking for McDougall. Can he turn? What a goal! What a superb goal! That's a taste of the Supermac.
The magnificent thing about Ted McDougall, you told him once. You told him once about anything, and he had it. He was as bright as a button. He was as bright as a button. And I'm going to tell you, he scored 97 goals in 2 seasons in the 3rd division. And if we won 11-0 in one game, and he scored 9 goals. You just think, Gary, you as an outstanding goal scorer, you think about you, and Frank as well. You imagine you two in an ordinary match. Could you imagine yourself scoring 9 goals?
The only time I did that was when I was about 12.
But he was just sod. He was hard to handle.
Yeah.
Oh, he was hard to handle.
In what way?
He was so money orientated. It wasn't true. He loved money. He did. He loved. Like, it was on them days. He was on 30 quid. He was on 28 quid, and I give him 30 quid a week when I went to Bournemouth in 1970. And within 12 months, he was on 150 quid a week. every time he'd go boom, boom, score a few goals, come in to see me, score a few goals, come in to see me. But he signed a contract at Norwich, and and all of a sudden, at the start of one season, he said, I'm going back to Bournemouth to live. I said, but you're under contract. He said, what difference does that make? He said, I'm going back to Bournemouth. I said, but you can't. He said, just watch me. He said, I'm going. So I had to go up to his house, I sorted him out, and it was all just about money. He wanted money. So I went up to his house, I had a meeting with the chairman. The chairman took him into the boardroom, into the chairman's room himself, settled that with him, gave him a right few quid. He said, the chairman came out to me and he said, John, Ted wants you in there. I walked into the chairman's room, Ted said, I won't let you down. And he scored 23 goals that year. He was like that. Ask Laurie McManamy about it.
At the top level, though?
You know, at the top level. Well, it made no difference. Do you know what? And you'll understand this. Maybe, Frank, I don't know whether you remember, I had a little boy at Bournemouth named Tony Scott, who was as good a crosser of the ball as you'll ever see in football. He's weak little lad. He could hit him with his right foot, left foot, outside of right foot. He could do anything. He'd get him in, and he'd get good little balls in, and Ted fed off of them.
As Tony Scott takes it on the left, with a nice piece of play there, holding off Mackin. Tony Scott to cross is a good one. It's right in the area. There it is. And what a goal! Supermax done it again.
He went to Manchester United. Willie Morgan was playing outside right, and all of a sudden Ted would make his own space. He'd get to the far post to come crashing in on the ball, and Willie would be taking his man in down the right wing. He'd just be getting the ball in, and he'd check out.
Mm.
So the onus is on the fella in the middle to make another run now, isn't it? To sort the ball. And eventually, to this day, I remember, he played at Ipswich Town for Manchester United. They got stuff. He kept making runs. He didn't get the ball. He rang me up that night. He said, that's the end of me for Manchester United. He said, I want to get away from there. I'm fed up. He said, to keep making runs and don't get the ball.
We've heard from John all about Ted McDougall, but there were two other Supermacs in the 70s.
Mackenzie chasing this. Mackenzie. Oh, great effort by Mackenzie.
Cassidy. McDonald. There's no doubt about that when Supermac gets a ball like that.
Mackenzie bring it down. Good goal!
McDonald. This is 5, surely.
Mackenzie. Going against Nisbet. Did a lot of hard work then. It was Glover who got his knee in the way to knock the ball clear. Lyle. Mackenzie. He's got a shot on, and he's got a goal on. 1-1.
McDonald. And he's got it! How on earth could he ever get his foot to that ball is beyond me.
Up goes Martin. And a great one from Mackenzie. And a beautiful goal from Duncan Mackenzie. And that's the sort of goal which has made him a target for the bigger clubs and valued at something like £200,000.
Back in again from Ricks and a chance for McDonald. And he's made it. The salute of triumph for Malcolm McDonald.
Mackenzie. Twice he dummied the back heel. Still he has the ball. Great crossfield run by Duncan Mackenzie. Stoke can't find a way of taking it from him.
Forward from Rice, and McDonald looked as though he might have come back from an offside position, but he's adjudged onside again, and he makes it too.
Need him again. Oh, he's given it away to Mackenzie. Now, can Mackenzie make this 4 for Everton? And he can, and he made it look like child's play.
We all miss chances as strikers. one or two spring to mind. Can you remember Roger Davis's?
I remember that one clearly, Gary. It's got to go down as the most incredible miss of all time. I would that I've ever seen in my footballing career.
Bobbing into that little situation there, and onside! The linesman has kept his flag down. Now here's a chance for Roger Davis. He's gone past. Oh, and what a miss! That, unquestionably, is the miss of the season.
You never miss one like that.
I don't think quite as bad as that. I mean, we've all, as you say, we've all missed easy chances. But Roger's got to go down as the most incredible miss of all time, in my book.
Embarrassing for the boy, wasn't it? I suppose, to be honest, he weren't the best player on the ground, was he? He couldn't control the baggers and went wet on the ground, could he? But I mean, the ball just hit his other foot. He went round the keeper, didn't he? It hit his other foot and went behind for the goal.
In that era, I should direct this one especially to you, Frank. Trendsetters were players seen as trendsetters. There was an incident where the Brighton manager, Pat Saywood, asked his players to get their hair cut. Did you ever have anyone ask you to get your hair cut?
Nobody's ever asked me to do anything
anywhere yet.
They wouldn't have had any success in it, you know, because no one's ever asked me to get my hair cut or change my style or vogue, whatever you want to call it. But you know, that was a time when players were really beginning to think, you know, more fashion conscious wise, and there was a lot of new trendsetters around. I remember Kevin Keegan. He had the I think he set the trend off with the perm, didn't he? Yeah. I'll tell you a little story, Gary. When you know, talking about dress sense and setting trends and what have you, you know, I was making a name for myself with my off-the-field situation when I was playing at Huddersfield, and had this unusual dress sense, and I was called up to join the England under-23 squad in Poland. And I arrived at Warsaw Airport dressed in like green velvet jacket, flowered up neck shirt, black leather trousers and cowboy boots. And Sir Alf, it was for Sir Alf, and he turned to the posse of English sports journalists and he said, who the hell's that? And he couldn't believe, you know, that I could turn up for an England international match dressed as a cowboy. Well, I mean, that was the current trend at the time.
Actually, Ron Atkinson, I met Ron Atkinson, I was going to go to him actually when he was managing at West Brom, and he was really concerned I wasn't wearing any ties and I wouldn't wear any ties. It was one of his things that his players wore ties, and
bracelets.
Yeah, he had to weigh a certain amount actually for the time, but he was really concerned. It was one of the top things on his list that was discussing terms and everything else, and he was really concerned whether I would wear a tie. And I said, well, I shouldn't think it'd make a problem, Ron, you know. But what worries me at the moment, Gary, is that I'm the youngest here and I've got the least amount of hair at the moment.
No, yeah.
Hey, Frank?
That's it for 72-73. We'll be back next week with more soccer in the 70s and the nights when a goalkeeper called Tomaszewski stopped England reaching the World Cup final.